one of the things that I believe is that if you are not growing, if you are stagnant, if you don't want to change, well, change is happening. Change is happening all around us.
And there is about to be a big change at the top of the Tulsa Police Department. We first told you yesterday that Mayor G.T. Bynum selected Major Wendell Franklin as the new police chief. He's a Tulsa native and a 23-year veteran of the Tulsa Police Department.
And we are so honored to have both the mayor and the new police chief joining us live in studio this morning. Gentlemen, thank you so much for waking up early and
Yeah. Thank you.
So we'll just jump right into this. You know, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
A huge deal, a huge honor for you and for the city of Tulsa and for the entire department as well. But Mayor Bynum, I'm going to start with you. You know, what were some of the things that you were looking for in a police chief? It was an extensive interview process. You had community input. You know, you really wanted to choose the right person for this. So what were you looking for, and how did this gentleman kind of check all the boxes for you?
Well, I mean, it wasn't an easy process because there's so much talent within our department. But when it came down to it for me, I was looking for somebody who'd be a great leader of the remarkable team we have within the department, somebody who has a real commitment to community policing, someone who's passionate about innovation, who acknowledges that there are always ways to do better, and there are other cities out there that we can learn from. And Chief Franklin checked all of those boxes. I mean, he's very unique in having experience, having commanded officers in all 3 of our patrol divisions around the city, and so he was doing community policing before those of us elected officials started calling it community policing. He was just doing it by instinct, and so I think he brings all the best talents that I was looking for to the table in this role, and I'm really excited to have him as our new chief.
You know, speaking of change, Major Franklin, this next question is for you. You talked about changes all around us. A lot of people are throwing out the word reform. Reform. What does reform look like to you in the Tulsa Police Department? What are the changes that you think to make when it concerns public issues?
Well, I think we have to take a look at our internal organization first, and we need to look at how we have our officers deployed, what's the best way to deploy those officers and supervisors, and then go towards the training aspect and how we're training and equipping our officers to go out and do the arduous task of being right every single time that they encounter someone. It's very difficult to police this city, to be a police officer anywhere in this nation, and I understand the scrutiny that comes with it. We are taking a law that's written with words on paper, and we're applying that law out there physically on the street.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned you want to strive to be right all the time, and you know, that's something I think everybody can relate to. You know, you want to constantly be right, but sometimes maybe things don't go quite as planned. And you know, I've heard that you could be called tough by some of your colleagues. The mayor mentioned that several times. So what's your kind of game plan for holding officers accountable and making sure that, you know, your officers are held to a higher standard and esteem there?
I think that you have to look towards consistency. That us applying our policies consistently to the officers and not looking at that individual officer because of who they might be and what they've done on the department, but we need to look at policy violations and apply our policy, our application of policies towards that. Yeah.
And I will say that is one of the things that stood out about him in the interview process and in talking with people within the department. It is, as you mentioned, he has this reputation of setting very high standards for his teams, building a great team to accomplish them. But if people are not helping accomplish those, he can be kind of tough on them. And what I heard both within the department and in the community is people want that. They want high standards in the department, and I think that he is the guy to put them in place.
This next question is kind of for both of you. You know, during the interview process, you had those public forums. A lot of people were talking about live PD, and you were just talking about people are, you know, officers are scrutinized, and you know, this puts it on, you know, a world stage for people to see. What are your thoughts on the show, and how do you plan to handle that show kind of moving forward with your department as the leader?
Well, I spoke yesterday and talked about, and I'm open to suggestions, but where do we show transparency? How do we show transparency? We have a platform that is a national platform, and yeah, it might be considered entertainment, but for us, it's a recruiting tool. For us, it shows you what we're doing, and quite frankly, it gives the media stories, our local media stories, to talk about as well. I don't think anyone would have known what Officer Darrell Ross and that group of officers did last week or week before, where a man wanted them to kill him, and just how they maneuvered through that situation and were able to utilize a less amount of force to take him into custody. I don't think people realize that that type of work occurs on a daily basis.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your answer there for sure. And our last question for you, when can we officially call you Chief? When do you start the job?
February 1st.
February 1st.
Yes.
I'm calling him Chief right now.
You are.
I mean, Chief Jordan's Chief anyway. It's kind of like being mayor. People call you Chief for the rest of your life.
That's
so
true.
Congratulations. You'll be called that forever.
We're definitely excited for you. Thank you so much for joining us so early this morning. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.